So welcome everybody. This is the Wild Ones Greater Cleveland monthly chapter meeting. It is October. So thanks everyone for being here. Have some nice fall foliage color for you. So typically when we start our meetings, we talk about what's blooming right now. But I'd love to hear what is some people's favorite native plant for fall color. So I listed a few here, and this is an image of some fall color from a pawpaw, which gets like the really bright yellow.
Muted right now. Because she's speaking.
But I couldn't even hear her.
Actually,
Oh, you
Rachel,
couldn't
you're
hear
not
her?
No, so you
muted.
can't hear her also, right?
No.
Can you mute Rachel?
This thing did. Shouldn't it?
So, I know I was just out on a hike maybe last weekend, and it was like immediate, you could tell where the pawpaws were in the woods. So, and I know Jessica mentioned the high bush blueberry, which is one of her favorites, and that gets like the really bright red.
Yeah.
Does anybody else can think of possibly what their favorite fall color for native plants are? Allison, do you have one?
Yeah, I really like the asters right now. I think they're beautiful. I can't get my
Yes.
camera going. There we go.
That's okay.
They're
Let's see who else is on. Lynn, do you have a favorite fall color native plant? I know I'm putting people on the spot. No. What about Barbara? Everyone's being shy tonight.
Well, one of my other favorites besides the blueberry shrub is the black gum tree, the
Oh,
red
yes.
purplish. Yes, that's another one of my favorites.
That's this guy. It's so nice.
Yes.
All right, so a quick rundown of our agenda, and then I'll turn it over our speaker, Rachel. So she's going to talk to us about the Northern Ohio butterflies. And then we're going to do a few election updates just for the chapter. We're doing regular chapter updates and some upcoming and some past events that we did. All right, so we're going to talk about Ohio northern butterflies. Rachel has experience working with the Toledo Metro Parks doing the butterfly, I'm going to miss transect counts, and also the North American Butterfly Association doing the count for the Oak Openings region. As an all-around nature lover, she volunteers with Nature's Nursery, does programs about monarchs, and volunteers with the Black Swamp Bird Observatory doing bird extraction for the banding station. So I will turn it over. I will stop sharing, Rachel, and you can share. Uh-oh, have I not been sharing?
No, you're still sharing. You haven't stopped
Okay.
sharing.
It's telling me. Oh, there we go. Sorry. We all have user errors. Rachel, are you ready?
So we're going to do it regularly.
No headset. Can you?
Okay. We were trying to do a headset so it would be easier, but we're going to
Okay.
just do it this way. Okay,
All right,
can you
we
see
can
it?
see it. Yep.
Yes. Hi, I'm Rachel Shammy, and I'm from the Northwest Ohio area. And I do the North American Butterfly Association count locally, and that's how I've learned my butterflies. And I raise a lot of butterflies as well. And so I'd love to share the most common butterflies that we see in our, the North Ohio area. So this is just a little bit about me. I'm a birder first and a mom of twins, and I lead a lot of birding walks as well as take people on the North American Butterfly Association count yearly, which we end up having about 60 species in one day. So it really helps people learn their butterflies really well. So first off, I thought that I would like to show the difference between a moth and a butterfly. A lot of people don't know the difference between a moth and a butterfly. Obviously, moths tend to be nocturnal, but we have a lot of day flyers. And so because of that, it makes it confusing to a lot of people if they're seeing something nectaring, whether it's a moth or a butterfly. So on the moths, they tend to have like very feathery type antennas, and they have very fat bodies in the abdomen area. And they tend to be closed kind of like in a tent shape, as you can see on the left-hand side of the screen. That is an IO moth. And the butterflies tend to be open a lot more, but their wings are out to the side. They have very thin antennas with like little bulbs on the end, and they have very thin abdomens. So those are the main things that are the differences between the two. So if you see something flying and nectaring during the day, you can hopefully tell between a moth and a butterfly. So I wanted to do the difference between a monarch and a viceroy. So first off is the monarch. And on the monarch, it's got the vertical striping, and all of the stripes are vertical. So on the next screen, this is the open version. On the next screen, you're going to see monarch versus the viceroy. And you'll see the vertical lines on the monarch. Then you'll see that on the viceroy on the right, that you're going to see a horizontal line that crosses the vertical lines. And that's the difference between a viceroy and a monarch. And also the viceroy is considerably smaller. So you'll notice if you see an orange and black butterfly flying and it looks small, it's probably a viceroy. So after that open version, I wanted to show you the closed version. And you can also see the horizontal line of the viceroy on the right-hand side, whereas the lines continue to stay vertical in all areas on the monarch. And like I said, they are bigger. Next is the morning cloak butterfly. And this butterfly is stunning. It is one of our earliest butterflies in the season. So as soon as you get a nice warm day, they can overwinter and they will pop out and start flying. Even if you have an 80-degree day in the spring, in the fall, or I'm sorry, not the fall, but well, yes, they do fly in the fall, but in the winter, like January, February, I've seen a crazy 80-degree day in Ohio and I've seen them flying. So they are kind of a chocolate brown color with the blue little dots around and like a gold edging. And they're a medium to large butterfly. They're a good sized butterfly, and they can either be low or high, but they are absolutely beautiful. Next is one of my absolutely favorites. It's the red spotted purple butterfly. They are one of the most beautiful butterflies, in my opinion. You can see the reason why they're called the red spotted purple. In the picture on the right-hand side, you can see its red spots when it's closed, which is called the ventral view. And when it opens, it's got that beautiful bluish purple color. So the red spotted purple. And I have wild cherry trees in my yard. And so one year I had one that made a chrysalis on my tree and I found it. And so this next one is going to be a video of it just after it eclosed, which means hatched. You can see the beautiful bluish purple on the inside, and then it will zoom into the outside where it's red. Just absolutely gorgeous. So hopefully you guys will get to run into one of those. This next one is one of two different punctuation butterflies, and there's an easy reason that they are called what they're called. So the first one is the Eastern comma, and it actually looks like it has a comma on it. So if you kind of imagine it upside down, it's a comma. Otherwise, you know, it kind of looks like it's a backwards comma. But anyway, if you see them closed, you'll easily see the comma on the outside. And they're an orangish butterfly with brown lining around the edges. They love to hang out on trees, and they also overwinter in the leaves so they can pop out on a nice warm sunny day. And the next punctuation butterfly is the question mark butterfly. And as you can see, again, it's kind of upside down, but if you look to the side, you can see that it kind of looks like a question mark when it's closed on its ventral view. And so that's the easiest way to identify that. They do have a little bit of a difference. The question mark tends to be more lined with silver around the edging, but they are a very similarly looking butterfly. So hopefully you'll get to see them closed so you can get an easier ID on them. But look for the silver lining to differentiate the question mark from the Eastern comma. Next is one of my absolute favorite butterflies, and that is the common buckeye. And these butterflies migrate to Ohio every year. Not always in great numbers though, but this year was extra special. We had huge numbers. And in fact, there could still be some out there that were some of the last babies that hatched or eclosed. They are raised on a plant called, or it's a grass called ribwort plantain. And so I find them easily in that tall grass. And so I raise them every year. And this year I had 55, which was a record for me. They were just in huge numbers. They were flying everywhere. They tend to fly very low to the ground. They love sandy areas. And obviously they have the big buckeyes. And so that's how you can differentiate them. What's really cool is in the spring, I mean, not the spring, but the early summer, when they arrive, they are a light color on the outside, on their ventral view. But as they later in the summer and the early fall, they turn into a rosa red form, which is just stunning. You can see how very red on the outside that buckeye butterfly is. So the later in the season they eclose or hatch, you will see the rosa red form. And so these are some that I raised. And so you can see the buckeyes on the one that's partially open. And then also they vary very much on their ventral view with how much red they actually show. And they're a smallish medium butterfly. The next one is the great spangled fritillary. These are big, beautiful butterflies, and they're orange with like brown checkers on them, and they love the milkweed plants. So this is a picture of what's called butterfly weed. It's a kind of milkweed, and so they are very attracted to that, as well as common milkweed that has the pink flowers on it. So if you see the big orange butterflies on the milkweed, most likely you're seeing the great spangled fritillary. There are other fritillaries that are in the area, but they just aren't nearly as common. So this is the most common one that you will actually see. Next is a very common butterfly. And in fact, this past year in 2024, we had a huge year for the red admiral butterflies. And they are one of the earliest spring butterflies. Usually I get excited when I see my first one because I know spring is here. So they are a smallish medium butterfly, and they fly very crazy and erratically. So They obviously have a red color to them, could be reddish orange, but they love fruit, rotted fruit. And so you'll see it in the picture that the red admirals were down on some smashed apples in the fall, nectaring on them. But if you put like bananas that are extra ripe out, I put grapes out, actually literally nectar from my Oreo feeders and my jelly. So anyway, that's some good ways to attract them to your yard. Next is another one that I absolutely love, and that's the painted lady. And this is a butterfly that migrates, and they have certain years that they erupt, meaning that they're in huge numbers. And this was an eruption year for 2024. Even though this is late in the season, I literally saw them today out in the sun. So I still have zinnias in my yard, and the large zinnia flowers that I have, they absolutely love. I've had 3 to 4 on there at a time. And so there's 2 different lady butterflies, and the painted lady, she's got 4 eyes on the outside, and she's, like a salmony color with, brown spots. The other lady butterfly does look similar, but its ventral view, the closed view, has a different eye pattern. So the next one is the American lady. So it looks similar on the inside, but on the ventral view, the closed view, you'll see that it has 2 big eyes on the outside instead of the 4 little ones. And so these are not nearly as common, but definitely the painted ladies are one that you should look for, and especially during an eruption year, they're everywhere, like 2024. So. And here's the side-by-side version, so you can more easily see. There is a little tiny spot that can differentiate the 2, but it's easiest if they're closed to get the ventral view of the eye spots. The 2 big eyes on the American lady and the 4 little eyes on the painted lady. Next is the pearl crescent butterfly. And it is a tiny butterfly, and it's very feisty and sassy, and it loves to chase other butterflies, especially other males away and things like that. They are extremely common. At times I will see up to 30, 100, just very, very common butterflies. So they're really easy to find. And the ones on the left, obviously you can see they're already mating. But they get, extremely territorial and definitely want to mate. So you'll see them chasing each other all over. This is one of the brown butterflies that we have. The little wood satyr is the most common one that's seen. It tends to be seen in the shade. So if I'm walking down a path and it's sunny, but there's some shaded spots, I will look over in the shaded spots by the low plants. They tend to be closer to the ground and fluttering around the plants in the shade. So they've got the little eye spots around the edge, but there are other brown butterflies that do look similar in that same category, but this is just the most common. Next is the eastern tailed blue. And this is one of the 2 blue butterflies I'm going to go over because there's 2 that look very similar, but are easily identified if you know the difference. So this is a very small butterfly, an inch or less. And on the inside, they're a bluish purple color. And then on the outside, they have 2 orange spots. And they do have tails. That's why they're called the eastern tailed blue. But unfortunately, because of how fragile they are, a lot of times they break off. So you definitely want to look for the 2 outer orange spots, or if they're open, you can look for the orange spots there as well. The next little blue butterfly that looks similar does not have the orange spots, and that's how you can differentiate it. So the next one is the summer and spring azure. The only main difference is what time of year they fly. So obviously the spring azure is going to be flying in the spring. In the summer, it's going to be flying in the summer. But they're, again, a bluish purple butterfly. They've got, you know, a few little spots on the outside, extremely small, an inch or so, but no orange spots, just plain bluish purple. So that is the difference between those two. So this is the American copper butterfly, and this is one of two copper butterflies I'm going to introduce you to. The American copper tends to be more common. They are found nectaring the far right one you can see on butterfly weed, which is a kind of milkweed. Other little tiny flowers. These guys are very small. They're orange with, you know, spots on them. They could be dark orange or light orange, but they love to nectar on the little flowers. And so these guys are usually found in meadows and prairies and things like that. Whereas the next one is the bronze copper butterfly. Bronze copper butterfly is going to be found in the wetlands. So it's going to be near marshes or some sort of wetlands where there's some stagnant water. And so you can see they look pretty similar. They just have more of a coppery color to them. And the males tend to have less spots than the females. But if you're in a wet area, you're probably going to be seeing the copper butterflies, or I'm sorry, the bronze coppers instead of the American coppers. The silver spotted skipper. So this is the first of the skippers that I'm going to go over. Skippers used to be their own species, but they changed them to a kind of butterfly. But they tend to have more curved antennas, and they are typically very small. The silver spotted skipper is going to be our most common and largest skipper. So you can see the big silver spot on the side, and the reason that it was named the silver spotted skipper. But when open, it is very brown with two orange spots. And so it's much easier to identify when it's closed. And like I said, these guys are very common. So you will most likely see them very frequently. Next is the peck skipper. This is another one that is pretty common, and it's very tiny. So most skippers are less than an inch long, teeny weeny weeny. This little peck skipper got stuck in my garage, so I was able to just put it on my finger and take it outside. But you can just see its adorable little hooked antennas and the huge eyes. They have the cutest faces, if you can see their faces. And the skippers love blazing stars. So that's what they are on the right picture. The next one is the common checkered skipper, another one of my favorites. I have these all over in my yard and in the meadow behind me. And they have kind of a bluish gray, hairy abdomen. And obviously they're checkered. So they're the common checkered skipper. They tend to be a brownish, grayish, and white checkered, but they're very tiny, just like the pecks, less than an inch long, found usually in the summer. And they use the mallow plant as their host plant. The one on the left got trapped in my back seasonal porch. And so I went out and put it on my zinnia, and it allowed me to take a picture. But I usually see them flying all over in my meadow behind us or near the mallow in my yard. So this is a picture of one of our NABA counts, which is the North American Butterfly Association count. And you can see how teeny tiny these skippers are. They are so difficult to ID. So I'm just doing the very most common because they're very tough to identify. I'm going to play this video that shows how incredibly difficult it was with how many skippers we found on this common milkweed flowers. They were just buzzing galore. There's a lot of silver spotted skippers. You can see that they are the very large ones in the video, and all the other ones are very tiny in comparison. They obviously really, really like the common milkweed flowers. So it's always a great spot to find a lot of them when we are counting every butterfly that we see and every species that we see. It's a 1-day count nationally for each county for a 1-mile area. Next, I'm going to introduce the swallowtail butterflies. So these guys are absolutely huge. The tiger swallowtail is one of the most common that you'll probably see, with the big yellow and black stripes. And so this shows the difference between the male and the female. The male has the black lining around the edges, whereas the female has the blue. And these butterflies love Joe Pye. They love ironweed. You can see them on the bee balm. But they are huge, beautiful nectars, and so very easy to spot because they're gigantic when they fly through your yard. Next is the wanted to show you that the female eastern tiger swallowtail actually has 2 different morphs. She has 2 different colors. So she not only comes in the yellow and black form, but she comes in a dark morph. So it makes all of her yellow disappear. But if you can see her in the light, you can still see her tiger stripes. But the blue obviously shows up really well. And so she is a dark morph eastern tiger swallowtail, but the males only come in the yellow morph. Next is the spicebush swallowtail. These guys fly super erratically. It's really, really difficult to get these guys to stop moving. So I was able to, on the far left, get a picture of a female with a very high shutter speed with her open. You can actually see the orange spots, which I didn't even know they had. But they're normally just fluttering the whole time they're nectaring. They rarely. I caught the one in the middle on the bee balm with a fast shutter nectaring. And then the one on the right is the male, and he tends to be more of a blue-green color, whereas the female on the left is a more blue color. Next is the eastern black swallowtail butterfly, and they're pretty common in our area. And a lot of you have probably had these caterpillars in your yard. They are different, male and female. If you see on the right, the female is the one with the blue lining, and the male is the one with the yellow lining, yellow stripes. And these guys grow on parsley. They grow on dill. I raise mine on Queen Anne's lace, anything in the carrot family, honestly. Anybody that has herbs in their garden has probably found these caterpillars. So this video is a picture of a male that I raised that I had released. And you can see his big, wide yellow markings all the way across. And the next one is, I'm going to show you, these are the pictures of the caterpillars, of the black swallowtail caterpillars. So these guys are on dill and parsley. And so you can see that they look different from the different ages and stages they are, called instars. They start off black with cream in the middle, and then they get spots on them. And they go from black to yellowish, greenish to green. They're beautiful, and they're pretty easy to raise, especially because you can just use Queen Anne's lace or herbs if you have them in your garden. Next is the giant swallowtail. This one's kind of opposite of the tiger swallowtail. It is black with yellow striping. And these guys are gigantic, almost like the width of my hand. They're huge. I found the one nectaring on this wild lily. And then the one on the right got stuck in my garage again. It came in. And so I got a picture of it on my windowsill. Then I'm going to show you a video just how huge it is in my hand when I went to release it. I decided it wanted to stay with me for a minute and let me admire it, and I loved it. so beautiful. You can see its tails and the reason why they're called swallowtails. Fortunately, their tails are very fragile though, and they can get broken off. And that's a giant swallowtail. So next, this is the most common butterfly there is, the cabbage white butterfly. It's basically white with a grayish spot on both sides. And the farmers absolutely hate them. Like their name suggests, they love vegetables and cabbages, and that's what their eggs turn into caterpillars that eat the vegetables. And so farmers absolutely hate these guys and want to spray for them. But they're extremely common. The most common butterfly you're probably going to see in Ohio. The next one is going to be the clouded sulfur. And this is one of two sulfur butterflies that I'm going to introduce, two of the most common sulfurs. So first is the clouded, and the female tends to be more of a whitish greenish color, and the male tends to be more of a light yellow color. So you can see the female on the left with her white and then kind of greenish hue on the outside. And then the picture of them mating, the male's on top, the yellow one, and the greenish female is on the bottom. And so these guys are easier to identify when they're flying a lot of times, because the next one is very similar to it. So I like to identify them when they're flying versus sitting a lot of times. So the next one is going to be the orange sulfur butterfly. And you can see on the upper wing that it has an orange color to it. So when they take off and fly, you can see that orange color on the upper wing. And so because of that, that's why a lot of times I wait to determine whether it's a clouded or an orange until they open up and start flying. Clouded are light yellow, but these orange sulfurs have that upper shade of orange when they open up and start flying. And these guys are very common, and they're medium-sized butterflies. They're good size. And tons of them fly in summer and late into the fall. The hackberry emperor. This is one of two emperor butterflies. This is definitely the most common one you're going to find. They do not leave the hackberry tree very far at all. They're always around the hackberry tree because that's where they lay their eggs, and the caterpillars, their babies, eat the leaves of the hackberry tree. These butterflies tend to be very friendly and come to people and land on them. They love to drink minerals, and so they love to drink people's sweat so they can get salts and different things. And so these guys are orange with some little eyes on the bottom and eyes on the outside. And the next emperor butterfly looks very similar, but just is not very common in Ohio. But I wanted to show you the one we found on our knob account. It decided to come up to us and start drinking our sweat because we do our butterfly count in July. And so it's very hot. And because of that, we're all sweaty. And so it was on multiple of us drinking our sweat. But they'll also land on people's cameras, people in general. They just tend to be pretty friendly. And so they're very cool butterflies. So. And the last intro I wanted to do was to dusky wings. And they are very difficult to differentiate between the different dusky wings. So I put all three of the more common ones on one screen. So on the left-hand side, you're going to see the wild indigo dusky wing. It's a very erratic flying dusky wing. It's pretty dark with just a few markings on the upper wing. They tend to be by the false indigo plants, and that's why they're named wild indigo dusky wings. And then you have the juvenile dusky wing, and that tends to be a more of a spring dusky wing. And so this one I found in the spring with these flowers that were in bloom. And the Horace's dusky wing, they have little markings on the upper edges, a few dots, but as you can tell, they all look very similar. They tend to fly more so in the summer and all summer long. So that's generally the dusky wing you're going to see the most. So there's a book that I would definitely recommend, and it is by the Ohio DNR, and it's The Butterflies and Skippers of Ohio. And it is a free download. If you look up Skippers and Butterflies of Ohio, and it tells when the butterflies are flying, what time of year. It shows the caterpillars, it shows their host plant. So it is very helpful, and I would highly recommend it. So thank you so much. That's what I have for right now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. All right, so I know I have a question. So when you're doing counts and handling, I feel like I've always heard don't touch the wings. But in that one video you were, is there like a certain way, like if you happen to find one in your garage, like you say, like is there a proper way to handle them more so than not? Uh-oh. Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you,
Okay. Okay.
but I'm wondering if she froze, but it doesn't look like she's fully frozen. I'm wondering if she just can't hear us.
Right. All right. I'm going
Oh,
to.
she's playing with, or I don't know if that was you or her, but I saw a mute and then go off mute. Rachel, can you hear us?
Put it in the chat. No. Okay. Oh no. Okay. I'm gonna ask. I guess we'll just move on. If anybody has any questions for Rachel, you can just put them in the chat. Jessica, can you message her?
Sure.
On the side. Thank you. The other thing I realized, and I put this in the chat too, was I definitely had one of the black swallowtail caterpillars on my parsley plant. And it was very cute. And I didn't know what it was, but now I do. So that was a fun bit of information, because I feel like a lot of us probably grow herbs. So all right, I'm gonna share back my screen. I'm also gonna mute Rachel. Okay. All right, we're gonna move along. So with our election timeline, voting is open for members.
We can't hear them.
I can.
Oh, I think we can hear you, Rachel.
I muted her. So
Oh,
I heard.
yep.
so voting is open right now. It will be open until October 23rd. And this is for our board members and officers for our 2025 year. So I put QR code here if you are a member and want to vote. I'm also dropping the link in the chat for voting as well. Any members, you should have received an email with all this lovely information. Any questions, please reach out to us, or difficulties, just let us know.
I can
All
hear
right,
you
so
now.
we have, oh, yay.
What
I'm so
happened?
sorry.
I'm so sorry. I don't know. The slideshow stopped and the video and the audio stopped.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I thought it was great. I'm gonna reverse back. I did have a question.
Okay,
When
good.
you're handling butterflies, like you say you have some get in your garage sometimes, is there a proper way to handle them? Like, I feel like I've always heard don't touch the
Oh,
wings,
yes.
but
Yes. So you can only touch them from the outside. So to be honest, I really thought I came up with this thing, but on the inside, they have little tiny scales, like little shingles that lay on top of each other. And if those get wiped off, it affects their stamina and their flight. So I always described it for kids and people I was teaching as pixie dust because it's what helps them to fly. Well, I guess somebody else coined the phrase. Anyway, it is. I mean, for all sense and purposes, it just rubs off like a fine little dust, but it's
Okay.
what makes their colors and patterns. So you never want to touch the inside of a butterfly.
okay.
The outside does not have those. So I'm so glad you asked that. When we did the monarch tagging and things like that, I went through that with my other presentation because we were going to be handling them and tagging them. But yeah, that's a great question because a lot of people, especially if you are raising them or need to get them out, because you definitely don't want to end up seeing their color and pattern on your fingers because it's going to affect their flight at that point.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. Does anybody else have any questions for Rachel before we move on? Okay. Thanks, Rachel. Feel free to stay on through the
Yeah,
rest
I'd
of
love
the
to
meeting.
post that link for that free
Yes.
PDF because it is so incredibly amazing.
Yes, please
To
do.
literally see the caterpillar, the host plant, the butterfly, and then it says, I also failed to mention, it lights up which counties you can find each butterfly in. And not only that, it lists at the bottom every single month you can find them. I mean, it is amazing. And they used to give them out at the metro parks, and now they're like, no, we just offer free PDFs. You got to download it and print it. So
Right.
unfortunately, but it is great. I mean, you could just keep it on your, computer and keep it downloaded, and it's filled with great butterfly information for Ohio.
Yeah, that would be great if you could share that with us. That'd be wonderful. But thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thanks so much for having me.
Okay, so new members since September. We have 13, so we're at 192 members right now. We're so close to 200. So I'll mention this again at the end, but we're hoping that to get to 200 before the end of the year would be great. So if you have friends that are interested in native plants, native landscapes, and they've kind of been on the fence, maybe give them a little nudge. Say, hey, I think this membership would really be great for you so that we can get to 200. We've already surpassed our goal for what we set for 2024. So this would just be a little added bonus for celebratory purposes. And speaking of members, we had sent out an annual survey, and it's kind of like a recap of the year of, what did you like that happened this year? What do you want to see next year? What are you interested in? Do you want to volunteer? All the awesome things that we did, maybe things that you want to see differently. All of that's available. So we've had really good feedback already. and we'd love to have more of it. So I dropped that survey link in the chat. And the survey is open until the end of the month, August. Why did I just say August? October 31st. So go ahead and fill that out. It helps us goal plan for next year. It helps us figure out what events we're going to do and what educational topics we cover, because we want to do what our members want. We want to be able to provide that information for you guys. Oh, okay. So along with that, we were thinking or brainstorming that we might shift our chapter meeting date. It would still be the third week of the month, but we didn't know, is Thursday the best day? Is it Wednesday? Is it Tuesday? So we're also going to push out a quick little poll for what might be the best day. Is it one of these days? Do you want to keep it Thursday, or does it not really matter? We're going to push that out as well. So let us know and keep an eye on that. All right, our Northeast Ohio Native Habitat Quarter. We're up to 139, so we're real close to 140 for our gardens, which is awesome. It's absolutely awesome. It's more than we could have expected, and we're so grateful for everybody that has signed up to be part of this corridor. Again, we have, if you want to join the fun and get on the map with us, this map is interactive, so you can go to our website. I just put the link in the chat. You can click on the fun houses. Some people have included photos with their yard. You can see maybe your neighbors on there. Who knows? But the point of the habitat corridor is to kind of make that, connection for pollinators. Making sure that they have places to stop to eat, to lay their eggs, to nectar, all that good stuff, and they're not just, they have to stick to one area because there's nothing in the neighbor's yard that they can eat. So, just kind of bringing that connection together throughout everybody's yard with a few native plants. I know the season is wrapping up for the nurseries, but I believe we still have kits and signs available at participating nurseries. And it is free to sign up for the Habitat Corridor. But also part of that, you could purchase a yard sign for $25 plus tax. And it's a great talking point when so-and-so on the street next to you is walking their dog and they see your sign and you're outside, and then you can start talking about native plants and their dog. And it would be a great conversation starter. We have some volunteer opportunities coming up. Not coming up. I said that like they're events. I made available. Volunteer opportunities available. So assistant treasurer, you don't have to know QuickBooks. You don't have to be a financial planner or an accountant. It's just kind of some help in keeping track of a few things as we move through the year. Assistant social media chair, again, you don't have to be a guru, but just lending a helping hand to a few of our current social media chair would be great. A grant chair, if you know anything about grants or how to identify funding opportunities, things like that, we'd love to hear from you. Regional coordinators. So ideally, it's always hard going and tabling at events because people automatically see Greater Cleveland and they get worried that we don't support where they live. And it's really not true. We are more Northeast Ohio, minus Youngstown, because Youngstown does have their own Wild Ones chapter. But we really service a lot, if not all, of Northeast Ohio. So Lorain County, Cuyahoga County, Medina, Summit, Stark, Portage, Geauga Lake. We also have members in Ashtabula. So we're in Erie County, which is to the west. So we really have members everywhere. So the greater Cleveland chapter is a little deceiving, but we do service all of Northeast Ohio. So, and since we do cover so much ground, we're looking for pivotal people in those, certain areas that would kind of act as a community leader. One of our board members, Shelley Tender, she's in Medina. She's volunteered to kind of be our guinea pig regional coordinators out in Medina. So we'll see how that goes with her and how that can form and expand as a role. But we'd love to have someone in Lorain, 2 people in Cuyahoga, because Cuyahoga County really is so large and so dense, and it really is kind of split east and west. So having 2 people in Cuyahoga and then someone for kind of the Stark, Portage, Summit area would be great as well. We are ramping back up our Keystone workshops, and we're looking for coordinators, team members, people to volunteer and help put materials together for workshops. It could be a reoccurring role. It could be a one-time thing. Say, hey, I'm passionate about A, and I'm going to help you with A, and then that's it. And someone else could come in and say, well, I can help you with A, B, C, and D. And either one is fine. And we love anybody who can give us a little helping hand. Leaders help shape the direction of the education initiative and kind of managing those volunteers. So again, our Keystone workshops are kind of those like pivotal subject matters that we want to make sure that we're educating everybody on, whether it's the winter sowing workshops, invasive plant removal, native plant 101, even some design 101. Lots of things cooking with that. So we're ramping that up now that summer is over. Sadly, we're going to get into the cold winter months. Oh yeah, here's the list. Seed collection, importance of native plants, all that good stuff. Recent events, we had 2 native seed collections with Shelley Tender, who I mentioned earlier, with the Medina County Parks. They were so busy collecting seeds and having fun that they did not take any photos, which is fine. So here's a few photos of some of the seeds that they likely found in our area. So if you want to have a good time, Shelley Tender's it with the Medina County Metro Parks. We also co-hosted a very wonderful Northeast Ohio Resource Fair and Plant Swap with, and let me make sure that I get everybody, hold on. ODNR, Summit County Metro Parks, Summit Soil and Water, and Tinkers Creek Watershed District. And the 5 of us planned this resource fair, and it was housed at ODNR's Wildlife District 3, I believe, which is down in Summit County at Portage Lakes. We had a really nice turnout, and the plant swap was great. I think the table was overflowing with plants just coming in and out the whole time. I know that I picked up a few wonderful plants and got rid of a few of mine that I had cleaned up a little bit at my house. But it was really great meeting people from a little bit, the Akron area. There were some people from Cleveland who came, but it was mostly Akron area. So it was great to engage with that audience. And we had lots of fun plants to give away, and it was a really good time. All right, so there's a few free webinars coming up. So if you have not registered for one of these, I would recommend doing so. I have, so this first one is being put on by Wild Ones National. And is with Benjamin Voigt, and he's doing a introduction to matrix landscape design. And that is coming up on October 24th. Please note that all of the Wild Ones National webinars are in Central Time, which is an hour ahead of us. So this says 6 p.m. Central Time. It's really going to be 7 our time. And then this other one is happening. I'm personally really excited about this. So the new directions for American Landscapes, NDAL, who was founded by Larry Werner, who I absolutely love this organization. They have been teaming up with Wild Ones as well lately with a few of their programs. And they are doing this whole fall and winter series, and they're kicking it off with this free webinar. And it's At Home with Nature, Beauty, Ecology, and Experience. And the rest of the webinars in the series do have a fee, but this first one is free. So take advantage. I'm signed up. This one is October 30th. This one is at Eastern Time because it's done through NDAL. Larry's fabulous, so you'll definitely want to tune in for that. All right, and then we're doing a social at actually my home here in Stowe in Summit County. And we're gonna be, it's called Rockin' with Nature. So if you've seen this trendy new thing of painting kind of garden rocks, we're gonna be doing that. Wild Ones is gonna we're gonna provide all the materials. If you have any special rocks that you would like to bring, that is fine. If not, we'll have some available. We'll have the paint available. We're gonna have images of native plants printed out. So if you want to copy one of those. I think someone also suggested possibly using them as garden markers. So if you want to write, something on there like aster or goldenrod, and like use that as a little plant tag in your yard, you can do that as well. So just something fun to do. It's going to start getting cold and we're all going to be sad. So come eat some snacks and paint some rocks. Like, it's going to be awesome. And then save the date. Sunday, December 8th, our Vice President, Ray Stewart, has decided to open his home to a social and educational event. So it's a pot up and potluck. So it's going to be learning how to transfer native plants to larger pots. So if you have something in a smaller pot, you're not ready to plant it yet, you're not sure where to put it yet, but it needs a bigger pot. We're going to learn how to transfer it to a larger pot while they're dormant, and kind of have like this hands-on workshop while having a potluck. So it's kind of bring your own snack. So be on the lookout for that. We haven't really made a registration for that yet since it's in December. So just keep an eye out, and something to just keep on in the back of your mind for once December hits. Another save the date. This was in our newsletter, in our October newsletter. We do have a date for our annual meeting, and that will be Tuesday, December 10th in the evening up in Ohio City at Forest City Brewery. And our annual meeting is going to be Planting Seeds, Growing Wings. So it's just kind of a presentation and event to show how we've transitioned and metamorphosized through 2024. I almost said 2002 for some reason. 2024 as a fully chartered chapter, our first full year. And we'll kind of, take a look back, see how the past year went, and kind of give some goals for what we're planning for next year. And we also are going to have Dr. Randy Mitchell from the University of Akron come give a presentation on Ohio bumblebees, especially the rusty patch bumblebee. So it's going to be fabulous. Dr. Mitchell is top tier in his field in the country. So not just Ohio, but his research is regarded very highly throughout the nation. And then a call to action, like I said, we're almost at 200 members, so it'd be great to tell your friends, tell your family. We have holidays coming up. If you see friends for Halloween, if you see family for Thanksgiving, give that little nudge of, hey, you really like native plants, don't you? Why don't you join Wild Ones? They're really fabulous. They provide all of their programming and events free and open to the public. They have so many educational resources on their website. They're really friendly and awesome people. You should join. So we appreciate everybody for coming tonight. Jessica, do you have any last words that you
Nope,
would like to?
we're very excited. The team has been starting to read the feedback for the survey. For that survey that was the link was provided a little bit earlier. You do not need to be a member to fill that out. So please provide your feedback because as you can tell, we try to make as many of our events and activities free and open to the public as possible. So we are interested in hearing your guys' thoughts for our planning for next year, but we're very excited. We're going to start brainstorming a little bit further in November, but we have a lot of things that we're already hoping to include, like a school program and a bunch of other things. So a lot of things on the horizon.
Yes, that is a good point for the survey. If you've been wanting to become a member and something's holding you back, maybe that might be a good chance to fill that out and, share with us maybe what your reservations are or what we could be doing better to serve you. We're here for you guys. So happy October. Thanks everybody for being here. We will see you next month. And if not, we'll see you maybe we'll see you on the upcoming webinars at the end of the month. But thanks everybody and have a great night.
Thanks. Bye.